I have a Revolutionary War ancestor who's been in my tree for decades. He was a captain in the Berks County militia. I had his name, his rank, and the death date ended up being wrong by 20 years. But I didn't realize that until I'd given it all to Claude AI because I was preparing to write his story for the 250th. I didn't even realize that this death date was wrong across the files that I had, but Claude helped me resolve it, and I want to show you how in this video. Now, this isn't a tutorial. This is actually one of my real research projects, and I wanted to give you a behind-the-scenes look at it. Real ancestor, real records, and if you have a Revolutionary War ancestor in your tree, this just might change how you examine the research and prepare to write about them. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Denyse Allen, and I am a researcher in Pennsylvania who specializes in AI. I've been doing it for the past 3 years, and I've helped hundreds of genealogists learn AI and use it for writing and research. You can check the link in the description for more about Chronicle Makers, and let's get started with Stephen. This is the situation with my ancestor, Stephen Crumrine. So he was, as I said, a captain in the Berks County militia. And on the left is his DAR application file. Well, not his descendants' DAR application file. And on the right is the Sons of SAR file, the Sons of the American Revolution file. So I just wanted to point out the discrepancy here, which again, I did not see until I gave these files to Claude to analyze. Here, in the DAO file where it says Stephen Crumrine, and you can see there's some handwritten annotations here, which was picked up with the transcription. But here it says his death, it's actually been corrected a couple times, is in 1812. But here on the SAR file, if you look at his death, it just says 1792. Now that is a huge difference in death dates. We're not talking just a couple days discrepancy here. We're talking 20 years. So how Claude helped me figure this out was by doing first an analysis of the census records. So I had Stephen in 3 census records. I gave them on to Claude and it indexed them. So it went through and pulled out what was there in the index data, built out the households. So this was 1790, 1800, and 1810. Now, you'll note here, if he died in 1792, I shouldn't have an 1800 and an 1810 census record for him. So that was the first clue that the 1792 record was wrong. But the census analysis really helped with this because it built out where Stephen lived in this really handy table. This was something that happened instantly. It just took a minute and a prompt in order to get this, and I had the whole household reconstructed. What I get is a breakdown, a little bit more of an analysis from Claude about who was in each household of 7, household of 4, who was likely there, and then the household of 6, which is in a different county than Stephen was earlier. What had happened was he was actually living with one of his children at that point. So it made a guess here about which child it could have been, but that is definitely the case that he and his wife had moved into that household. I know this because I gave Claude then further records about Stephen, including the land records and the tax records, so we could track him and everything correlated. Now, one of the things Claude did, which I really enjoyed, is it came up with this migration story, giving a nice summary of what happened during each of these census years. Those were the kinds of things I used to type up when I did professional genealogy, and this saves me a lot of time. Claude then gave me its analysis just based on these census records, that this original census confirmed where he lived, Stephen was never living alone with Catherine, that the 1810 household suggests caretaking, and then it says the grandchildren appeared as early as 1800. And I can back this up again with family tree information that I have for his descendants. Now, that was the census records, but what about the rest of the records? Well, it was the land records that really gave me a clue into Stephen's life, as well as the estate file after he died. So let me show you the land records next. In fact, Claude is doing analysis right now. Let me show you. Here's what Claude is finding about the land deed records. I gave it the PDFs of the deeds, and it's using the tools which it can call up to analyze those. I don't need to worry about what form those are in. The PDF is fine. I downloaded those directly from Family Search, and it's going through and analyzing it. So deed number 1 was this Matthias Hallenbach, Stephen Crumrine, 700 pounds, which in 1762 would be the correct monetary amount, because this is when we are essentially British subjects here in the US. So it's then going through and reading some more files and doing the next deed. That was 1785. Let's see, it's pulling up some details here. The Briggs to Crumrine deed included a tenement, sawmill, and tract of land. Ooh. So there's a nice little detail Claude's pulling up. Now it's still working through its little files here. We've got the other deed, 1806, Stephen Crumrine to and Katerina, his wife, to Theobald DeWalt Albrecht of McCunchie Township, 4,000 pounds lawful money of Pennsylvania. Now this is interesting to me that this says 4,000 pounds because this is 1806. So this is one of those points I want to go back and read that deed and find out more historical context. I know the US wasn't exactly on great financial grounds in the early 1800s, so we could have still been trading in pounds, but I need to check that one out. So it's writing up right now the deed analysis. I'm using a tool here called CoWork, which is one version of Claude. I love Claude CoWork because it just works right there in my files. And if you see this little counter right here, this is literally the token counter of how many tokens it's taking while it's thinking. Now, more tokens doesn't mean better, but more tokens definitely means more usage. So this is definitely burning some of my AI usage. On the right-hand side here, you can see the different files that it's produced in its analysis, and you can see up top here its to-do list as it's working. It's one of the things I like about CoWork. You can give it a job, it makes itself a list of what to do, and then goes and does it. And Claude has finished its analysis, so let's read through it real quick. It shows the wealth building of Stephen across his lifetime. That's something I definitely would want to put in a story, that he didn't build the sawmill, he bought the sawmill. So I want to be correct in those details and what that meant for the family. That was clearly a source of income. We've got here a member of our fan club, Theobald Albrecht. The fact that Stephen Crumrine financed to him and he was paying Stephen. So this is definitely a thread I want to pull on. Catherine just signed an X. She didn't sign her name. That's a detail to put in. She might not have been literate. And the move to Center County was financed, planned, and executed at age 69. Not a flight, not a desperate relocation. He sold a 280-acre farm with a mill at the top of its value and moved with the proceeds. I did tell Claude that I was filming this for a video, and it said one thing you might want to note is that 80 acres he added between 1785 and 1806 aren't documented yet. So that's not there in the deeds that I pulled, so I need to go find that. Thank you, Claude. Now, the last thing Claude did for me was an analysis of the estate file. That was particularly helpful because, again, I'm focused on story writing, and it's in those estate files where there's inventories and details of what happens to a person's belongings after death that really make a difference for a good story. So let's take a look at what Claude came up with. Here is the file that Claude created of the analysis of the estate file. So in Pennsylvania, we call them estate files, not probate files. And basically, it consisted of an inventory of Stephen's assets, as well as how everything was distributed after his death. So the most striking thing for Claude, and I have to admit it is for me too, is this thing of the unfinished shoes. So Stephen clearly didn't plan to die. He died unexpectedly because he had shoes being made at the time that he died. Claude made this really interesting observation about medicine and that it was a modest sum, so he wasn't sick very long. Catherine was not literate in English. Fascinating detail of the sword in the closet. So it was most certainly his militia captain's sword from the Revolutionary War. The Bible was sold, likely the family Bible. And where is it now? Claude wants to know. I want to know. Don't we all want to know? The bees, he had beehives, a stage wagon, but a missing horse. And then Claude gets into what's missing from the inventory and what it means. I love this. This really helps to write the story. It puts so much into context. I get so excited about this because these are the kind of details that I missed when I was just doing genealogy research. Now that I'm looking at records for story writing, this kind of detail is exactly what I want. Then it gets into some mysteries here, a judgment, a law case. Something was paid for some reason reason, but I need to get to the court records in Northampton to figure that out. Henry disappears, mentions the ride to go get the money from Northampton County. It just keeps going on and on. Claude is amazing at pulling out details out of single files and really giving me a chance to examine these. So here's everything I know about Stephen Crumrine, thanks to Claude's help, which will help me write his story. He started with 245 acres in Berks County at age 25. He then upgraded to a piece of land with a sawmill and moved his family to Northampton County next door and bought 200 more acres. He spent 20 years there and then at age 69 sold that for £4,000, a small fortune at that time, and moved to Center County, probably following his sons there. He died at about age 75, and his widow, Catherine, was either unable to handle the paperwork or unwilling, and his sons stepped in and handled the estate distribution. His descendants, who later filed those SAR and DAR lineage society applications, just never lined up the estate records with the census records and the other details about Stephen in order to get it right when they filed. Those lineage society applications were conflicting because nobody actually looked at all the records together like I just did. The land records, the census records. I also looked at tax records as well as that estate filing after Stephen died. When you see those all lined up, you clearly know that the death date is in 1812. So that is a Revolutionary War story. It's something that happens before, during, and after the war, and it's a life story of a man's life well lived. AI helped me figure that out. And if you want help figuring it out, I wrote this book. You can get a copy without the author's note here, that it's the author's copy. It's out today on Amazon. Inside is an exact workbook to help you go through constructing your Revolutionary War ancestor story. And there's over 20 prompts in the back that you can plug into your AI to help you analyze records and then get to that story structure. Again, find it on Amazon under my name. I hope you pick up a copy and it'll help you write your ancestors' chronicle. I'll see you in the next video.